On a Monday night in Miami, 1 week after Fort Lauderdale periodontist Charlie Adelson was found guilty in a murder-for-hire plot to kill his ex-brother-in-law Dan Markel, his parents, Donna and Harvey Adelson, were stopped at Miami International Airport before they could board a one-way flight to Vietnam. Donna Adelson, 73, was arrested on charges of first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation in the 2014 killing of the renowned FSU law professor and the latest bombshell twist in a nearly decades-long investigation that captured the attention of the nation. On September 17th, Donna, the matriarch of the Adelson family, will sit in the same Florida courtroom that her son was tried and convicted for her role in the murder of Dan Markel. Please join me for this special episode of 5 Things You Need to Know, the trial of Donna Adelson. Right off the top, we could do 5 episodes on Donna Adelson and the entire Adelson saga. We are going to do our best to cover as much as we can that we feel like it's important for people to understand with her quickly approaching trial. But I'm telling you, to begin with, we are not going to be able to cover everything. I know that a lot of people in the true crime community have followed this case passionately and very closely, and we will do as much as we can to honor all of the attention that has been given to this case. But again, let me say from the beginning that this will not cover everything, but this will give you a good understanding of what to expect as her trial begins this month. First, number 1, who is Donna Adelson? Donna and Harvey Adelson both grew up in New York City. Donna went to Queens College and became an elementary school teacher, and Harvey graduated from the University of Buffalo before earning his doctorate of medicine in dentistry at Temple University. The couple married in 1971. Upon relocating to South Florida, Donna left teaching to help Harvey and to spend much of her time at home caring for their 3 children, Robert, Charles, and Wendy. Family was Donna's focus. In 1986, she was a contestant on the game show Wheel of Fortune, describing herself as a domestic coordinator responsible for the activities, classes, and lessons of her 3 kids, her husband, and their dog, Sam. Harvey's career flourished. By the late 1980s, he was running big ads in local newspapers for his new cosmetic and restorative dentistry practice, which touted free smile evaluations. He changed the name of his practice to the Adelson Institute for Aesthetics and Implant Dentistry as he quickly made a name for himself in the lucrative business of cosmetic dentistry. The couple bought a 5-bedroom home on a cul-de-sac in Coral Springs. Over the years, Donna Adelson took control of all aspects of her children's future, pushing them to become successful, overseeing their schooling, organizing their play dates, sending them to summer camp, shuttling them to and from their extracurricular activities. Donna at times even signed off on who they dated. All 3 Adelson children excelled in college. Robert, the oldest, graduated summa cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa from Tulane and graduated with honors from the University of South Florida College of Medicine. Charlie Adelson attended the University of Central Florida, receiving a bachelor's degree in micro and molecular biology in 1999, and attended Nova Southeastern University, from which he received a degree in dentistry, later becoming a periodontist in his father's practice. Wendy studied peace and conflict studies at Brandeis University, where she graduated magna cum laude in 2001, then obtained her master's at the University of Cambridge before earning her law degree in 2006 from the University of Miami. Yet while Wendy was making a name for herself in the legal profession, she had not yet checked the marriage box. Donna would eventually help pick her husband, Dan Markel, through a Jewish dating site. To everyone, they seemed to be a perfect, accomplished power couple. Dan, a native of Toronto, was a Harvard-educated lawyer who specialized in criminal law and wrote extensively about crime, punishment, and family. Wendy focused on immigration, child advocacy, and disability rights. Their lavish February 2006 wedding in Boca Raton, announced in the New York Times, was attended by over 200 people. Donna's hopes for Jewish grandchildren seemed to rest with Wendy, who had moved with her husband to Tallahassee, where both taught at Florida State University. They had 2 boys and had settled in with new friends in a nice upscale neighborhood. Still, Wendy soon became disenchanted as Markel's career took off while her career took a backseat to raise their children. Within a few short years, it was clear they would not live happily ever after. In a remarkable glimpse of foreshadowing, Wendy Adelson published a fictional book in 2011 in which the female protagonist's lawyer leaves her condescending husband. Number 2, what happened to Dan Markel? Dan and Wendy separated in 2012. Wendy and her family were determined to move her and the boys to South Florida, where the rest of the Adelsons lived, but Markel refused and successfully fought it in court. Shortly thereafter, Wendy left Dan, taking the kids and half of their furniture in the house while he was on a business trip in New York. When he returned home, he had been served divorce papers. Although the divorce was finalized in 2013, the litigation over custody of the children became brutal. Court records showed that a Leon County judge denied Wendy's motion to relocate her kids to South Florida. Dan dug in, filing a motion to prevent his children from having unsupervised visits with Donna because he claimed Donna was disparaging him to the kids. This would be the last motion Dan would file before he was murdered. All of the acrimony and fighting came to an abrupt end on July 18, 2014, when Dan pulled into his garage in Tallahassee after running errands. 2 men quickly approached and shot Dan twice in the head. He died the next day. Soon after Dan's death, Donna and Harvey Adelson relocated to Miami Beach with Wendy and the 2 boys. Wendy also changed the boys' last names from Markel to Adelson. Over nearly 10 years of investigations, wiretapping, and testimony, prosecutors have said Dan's killing was the result of a murder-for-hire plot involving Donna Adelson, her son Charlie, Charlie's girlfriend at the time, Catherine McBanois, and the hitmen, Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia, who is also the father of McBanois' children. Number 3, who has been charged? To date, 4 people have been found guilty in the conspiracy. Luis Rivera, who is already doing time on an unrelated charge, took a deal and received a 19-year sentence for his agreement to cooperate with authorities. Sigfredo Garcia, who Rivera said pulled the trigger, was convicted and sentenced to life in prison in 2019, as was Catherine McBanois after her retrial in 2022. Charlie Adelson was similarly found guilty in November of 2023 and sentenced to life in prison the following month. You may ask, who has not been charged? Wendy Adelson, who has denied involvement with the murders and testified under immunity at several trials, has not been charged. Same too with Donna Adelson's husband, Harvey Adelson. State Attorney Jack Campbell told media outlets that the state did not have the evidence to arrest Harvey at the time of Donna's arrest. We now know Donna's attempted flight overseas sped things up and pushed law enforcement to make a decision quickly, according to Campbell. That's what forced our hand, Campbell said. We started talking to some of our law enforcement partners about the complexities of trying to bring someone back from either Dubai or Vietnam, and that might be a very complicated and lengthy process. So that's why we had to make a decision quickly. The day after the arrest, investigators seized 2 phones and an iPad from Harvey Adelson. Number 4, what is the evidence against Donna? Donna Adelson has been charged with first-degree murder, conspiracy, and solicitation in Dan Markel's murder, the same charges her son Charlie was found guilty of by a jury in just 3 hours. Email evidence. Prosecutors have repeatedly said Donna hated her former son-in-law Markel, who had been in a bitter custody battle with Wendy. Dan had a court order barring Wendy's move from Tallahassee back to South Florida with their 2 young sons. In a key email sent in 2013, Donna told her daughter Wendy, "It's time to take control of your life and not let Jibbers," a nickname the Adelsons used for Dan, "think he's just won anything by having you remain in Tallahassee. 8 hours away from the only family you have and lose out on what will be a job that will afford you and your children advantages that they will never otherwise be able to enjoy. Let's show this F word, what will make him absolutely miserable, the email continued. You know his weak points: money, religion, control. She goes on to write, you have 5 weeks before your court date, underlining the text. I know you have a job that keeps you very busy. However, the rest of your life, and consequently Dad's, mine, and yes, even Charlie's, will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. Prosecutors say the emails reveal that Donna and Harvey Adelson repeatedly tried to convince Wendy to coerce Markel into allowing her to move their sons to South Florida, with Donna suggesting they even offer Markel $1 million to change his mind. When Wendy refused to do so, Donna instructed her to threaten Dan, a strict Jewish conservative, that she would convert their children to Catholicism if he didn't back down. Cell phone records. According to the arrest affidavit, cellular records show numerous contacts between Magbanua, Charlie Adelson, and Garcia before and after the killing, and contact between Garcia and a phone registered to Harvey Adelson. Charlie also frequently contacted Donna before and after the murder. The web of phone calls reveal a pattern of phone calls starting with Donna, to Charlie, to Magbanua, and eventually to Garcia, and oftentimes repeating the same trail back to Donna. Banking records. At Charlie Adelson's trial, Magbanua testified that when she went to his home the night of the killing, he told her his parents had just left, leaving behind money, quote, that his mom had washed. She said the money was damp and moldy. After the murder, Magbanua received more than $17,000 in paychecks from the Adelson practice, handwritten and signed by Donna, from September 2014 to at least April 2016. Prosecutors said, on top of her portion of the money for the killing, and over $56,000 in cash. An undercover operation, or the bump. In 2016, in an operation now since referred to as the bump, an undercover FBI agent impersonating an extortionist contacted Donna outside her Miami condo with a letter and news article about the murder and demanded $5,000 to not turn over information about the shooting to investigators. The agent told Donna that she was taking care of Magbanua and the father of her children, but not the friend who later pleaded guilty. Donna soon contacted Charlie through a series of calls to discuss the threat. In the first call, she told him they needed to discuss some paperwork and that, quote, you probably have a general idea what I'm talking about. In a later call, when Charlie asked what the letter was for, she said, quote, this TV is probably about meaning $5,000 according to the affidavit. After he visited both his parents for a huddled conversation, Charlie took Magbanua to a restaurant where their conversation was recorded to complain about the would-be blackmailer, what he knew, and what Charlie would do about it. That recording became key evidence in Charlie's trial. One of the things he told Magbanua was, quote, if they had any evidence, we would have already gone to the airport. After the meeting, Charlie called Donna to report that he was handling everything. After another letter and a text was sent to Donna Adelson by investigators, there were multiple calls and meetings between Charlie and his parents. Donna called the agent and denied all knowledge. The sting revealed there was a pattern of phone calls leading up to and around the time of the murders. Calls were always made in this order: Donna Adelson to Charlie Adelson to Catherine Magbanua to Sigfredo Garcia, only for those calls to be returned in reverse order. Jailhouse calls. Soon after Charlie's conviction, authorities recorded a series of jailhouse calls between Donna and Charlie. The calls involved Donna telling her son that she was, quote, getting things in order, creating trusts, and making sure her grandchildren were taken care of. Donna discusses plans for a suicide, but also discusses plans to flee to a non-extradition country, according to the affidavit. Donna Sue Adelson has considerable financial resources to accomplish this, the affidavit continued. On November 7, 2023, Donna and Harvey Adelson booked flights to Vietnam with a stop in Dubai. This was less than 48 hours before a grand jury was scheduled to meet that might have taken up her case. The U.S. does not have an extradition treaty with Vietnam. And finally, number 5, what to expect at trial. In the weeks leading up to the trial, both sides have filed a series of motions to further define the rules of engagement. The biggest motions from the defense pertain to Donna's indictment, where the trial would be held, and what evidence Judge Stephen Everett would allow to be admitted. Defense attorney Daniel Rashbaum said that the state's indictment of Adelson was done in, quote, bad faith and was prejudicial. He pointed to the fact that Adelson was indicted 10 years after the crime. Rashbaum argued that the state's case against Adelson will be nearly identical to the ones they built against the 4 others serving time for Markel's murder. Most of this case that we're about to hear is the same exact case as it was in 2019. Almost the same witnesses, almost the same evidence, he said. It's the same case. The difference, Rashbaum argued, was that Adelson's indictment came far too late for the defense to access possibly helpful records like call and toll logs. He said the state cherry-picked the evidence they acquired over the years, intentionally excluding evidence they could aid the defense case. Prosecutors responded that they couldn't have known back then that they'd have probable cause to indict Donna Adelson, and that they had an ethical duty to wait to charge her until they had enough evidence. Prosecutor Sarah Dugan explained that a key piece of evidence in Adelson's indictment didn't surface until last year when an alleged co-conspirator described meeting with Adelson, her husband, and her son the day of the murder. That, according to prosecutors, makes the indictment timely. After taking the issue under consideration, the judge eventually agreed with the prosecution and the motion has been denied. Another major ruling was on Adelson's attempt to leave the country. Prosecutors intended to raise this as evidence of consciousness of guilt, but the defense has said that Adelson was just going on vacation and that she'd had years to flee before last year. Again, against the defense wishes, the judge ruled that it will be up to the jury to decide if the trip was an attempt to flee or just a vacation. The judge also denied a motion from the defense requesting to move Donna's trial location from courtroom 3G to 3B, a smaller room. Addressing the defense concerns, Judge Everett said, "The court is going to take all means necessary to prevent any distractions." He went on to add, "Believe me, I have no problem having them," referring to deputies, "break out the handcuffs. You can ask around." Other notable decisions included defense requests to exclude comment on Donna's family wealth, granted by the judge as a general characterization, though prosecutors can bring evidence she could cover the bill for the alleged hitman. The defense request to exclude jail calls between Charlie Adelson and Donna Adelson as hearsay. The judge reserved ruling on this depending on what evidence the prosecution decides to attempt to introduce. And finally, a prosecution request to exclude evidence or testimony garnering sympathy for Donna Adelson being incarcerated. This was granted by the judge, who said, "It is an important proposition of law. Jail sucks." Jury selection is set to begin September 17th. Arguments could start as early as September 20th. Wow, that was a lot to digest. This is obviously going to be a very fascinating, yet very complex trial with a lot of moving parts. And it will likely be the biggest test of the prosecution to date in this ongoing saga. We will be there every step of the way, so please continue to check in with us for regular updates. In the meantime, thank you so much for joining me for this very special 5 Things episode from Courtroom Confidential. Have a great week, and I will see you again this Friday.